Hi everyone, welcome to my Shoreline studio. I'm Sybil Muschik. Behind the camera is Joshua Blanc. Now today we're going to be talking about another type of transfer, and this time it's a pastel transfer. Now with pastels, you do have to adjust them. You're not going to get a really strong image after you do it. So you work back into it with pastel or charcoal or whatever. But that's a fun part. So we're talking about a little island that's been floating around the lake. We've had this happen before, and Josh has actually written a whole suite of music about it. And this one, I think, has disappeared, so we're going to have to go and chase it with a canoe and see where it's got to. Anyway, we have a picture of it here, and it's just a tiny little thing, and it's broken off from the far shore. I guess it's just a bunch of weeds and cattails that aren't tethered to the ground. They're floating on top of the lake. So when a storm comes along, it breaks off and starts floating around. We've had this happen lots of times. Anyway, it makes for a really great painting subject, so, and particularly in pastel, because you get that softness and that glow. So I have some examples to show you. I did the first one in white, and this is the pastel piece that I transferred from, and then this is the pastel that is a transfer, and I've worked a little bit back into it just to lighten it up in a few places so you see what we're going to be doing. Then I did a few with black paper, and here's the one I worked from, and I've used white chalk to just give it a little bit more character and some details. And this is the transfer of it, and I really didn't have to work very much back into it. It came back okay, maybe a tiny bit of white there. And our black turned out really well. I'm using charcoal for that. So that's what we're all about today. And we're going to start just with the initial drawing. Now, for these ones, I actually ruled it off, but we'll just maybe play it by ear today and hope we got straight lines. I usually have a slant going, usually down, and it depends on your drawing hand. Some people, their right shoulder is down a little bit lower, like mine, because if you're right-handed, you use your right hand all the time, and so you tend to maybe have one shoulder slightly lower than the other. We won't be slavishly following the photograph. I never do. I look at what's there, and then I change things as I see fit. That's an artist's prerogative. So we'll just give it a start. And we've got these sort of two sections. I usually start from the background. So we have this section in here. Doesn't have to be very big. And then a little section here. I've ruled off the sides so that it goes to 5 by 7. And then we have this fairly big piece, and the other ones I've changed. Usually you want to have light against dark, dark against light, so that your subject it really has impact. And then we have sort of a calm area. So a lot of this is very linear, and then you have some interesting, shading and lines and stuff in here that you can just put in with charcoal. That'll transfer really well. And then, so then you have the size of the island. Now it's up to you how much of the space you want the island to be. I could make it a lot, like in here it's very small. We can maybe punch it up a little bit. And it's probably a good idea to overlap the background to give it more impact. So let's see, give it a range here, something like that. And start Now I look for shapes. You don't want to be naming things. So this is sort of a triangular shape, and there's sort of another upside down triangle, and sort of like a cathedral looking thing. When I'm talking about naming, I'm saying like if you're drawing a face, you don't say nose, because that's instantly, you have this image of a nose in your head, and you don't want to be doing symbols, you want to do shapes and masses. There's just a little bit stuff hanging off the ends here, and then there's little things like that. So that gives you the idea. Okay, so we have some pan pastels here. I'm using the sort of violet blue. It's sort of like an ultramarine with a little bit more violet character to it, I think. And always use the biggest tools you have on hand. So I've got this nice big square tool. So we'll start off with that. I'm just going to put the blue in first, and then we'll do the trees. There's sort of a line of dark trees behind there. And pan pastels are really quite nice. This is Canson My Tint pastel paper that I'm working with. It doesn't matter if you go over the lines a bit, because when you're printing, your gel plate is only 5 by 7. We're working a bit smaller because otherwise we're here forever. And I'm going to just go right over top of this area as well. We're going to be using the charcoal for the background. Okay, so we're going to be using this line of trees here. And it's quite lovely and dark. You don't have to be so particular about the horizon line. Many people starting off, their horizon lines are all over the place, and this is a lake after all. And you know, water takes on the level of what it's in, so that means that it's, you know, the horizon line is straight, not all over the place. But we have a row of weedy things there, and we're going to put that in. We're going to redo this island thing shortly. Okay, so this horizon line does have to be straight as far as I'm able to do it, because that's the edge of that bank of reeds and things. So we're going to put some reeds in, and we'll probably mix it considerably. And these are these tools you can send for, that comes with this kit thing. And so my little pan pastel, that's what they're called, is pan pastels, comes in these colors. And I'll have to supplement with a few more. Now, I'm just going to bring in some tones on top of this. Because at the time that we were shooting this, the reeds were still not green to any great degree. There were a few. And And this is a nice way to work with pastels. You just sort of, several different methods that you can use. And the pastel paper really grabs the pastel. So that's sort of our reed bed. I'm going to just put some blue purple in here. We'll make this darker. And we'll just shade around the island a little bit. And we'll bring our island back here. There's that gap. And then these nice little crazy branches that are all over the place. And again, it's level in here. And then the water is moving a little bit, so the reflections are more squiggly, if that's a good artistic term for it. And we can darken that horizon line a little bit. The base of the reeds are darker anyway, if you notice that. And you can make this as colorful as you want. I mean, the reeds could be red if that's what you like, right? So, right, so we're gonna go switch to a much lighter blue. And we're just gonna rub it on and hope that it will transfer. And you can be as abstract as you want. I mean, it's the idea of it. This lovely little floating thing. And I think a lot of us talk about metaphors where, you know, whatever is happening in the world is a metaphor in our work. So, and to me, the island is sort of the way all of us are feeling right now. We're kind of adrift. We're being buffeted by all sorts of nasty things. So we're just going to have to go with the flow, sort of. And if you put a little bit of that, you'll get little sparkles. And even if it doesn't show off in the, you know, show up in the transfer, it will, you can put it back in. Now you always want to coordinate all your colors, so whatever you have in one section, you should have bits of that everywhere else. That's just good work. And we'll put some of the blue down below here. Again, don't worry about the lines so much. And then just kind of blend a little bit together. Use your tool, like a spatula if you like. blending here. Don't want to blend too much or it won't transfer. You can also always add stuff back in afterwards. So our main concern is transferring things. I'm just going to bring some of that back and some of the lights back. Now this front, we just sort of bring these, and in a way you're echoing these shapes, except, you know, this is vertical and these shapes are now horizontal. Echoing is good. Sort of rough, scratchy things. Just like here, you're gonna put. Not all of it will transfer, but you might be lucky and some of it will. And then you have little squiggles. Ordinarily I wouldn't darken it this much because it competes with the island, but you do want it to transfer. Give it some shape and character. And I'm going to just take my sheet here, and what you don't want to do is go like, you know, and then breathe in. Not a good idea. So have a little basket next to you that you can take all the pastel off. Okay, so I think we've got, let's give it a few highlights. And let's do some of this. Just a little bit of color here and there in the island. Just to coordinate again. We've always talked about light source, so the way our place is situated, you know, the sun rises back behind us and sets here in the west, so that's how I see and how I tend to paint things. So and just shore up a few of the blacks. So this behind here was sort of negative painting where you're going back down into it. And that gives you the shape of whatever that foliage is there. So I think we've got a pretty good start. And again, shake off the loose pastel. Get all this stuff out of the way. All right. There we go. Okay, once it's down, it's down. Don't let it slip. So remember, it's not sticking, so be careful. Okay, so what we're going to do at this stage is we're going to tape it down. The reason for that is if some parts haven't transferred, then you have an opportunity to adjust. So adjusting is good. You want to make sure nothing slips. So now you want to look at it, and boy, it's transferred really well, but some of the lights are missing. So now we can go back in, and let's just put some of our lights. There's maybe a few in here, and some in just a little bit in the foreground. But you can see that it's transferred really well. Just here and there. You just want sort of a sparkle. And the black's already transferred, so I'm not going to pump that up anymore. Here we go. Let's see how that goes. Okay. So it's good around the reflection. I think it works pretty good. Maybe up in here a tiny, tiny bit more. And maybe a little bit more with a could have a few little branchy things. Let's see if that transfers. Yep, that's better. Okay, so we can take this off now. And you can reuse it because all you do is just, you know, add more pastel and you can probably go on forever. So now we come to the point where we add our super matte medium. And this is, it takes the gloss down. Okay, not too much. Otherwise it takes forever to dry. We're going to try and get this dried in at least a half an hour. Get this on here. I don't know what that is. So when you can see the image really well, and it's not covered up by the medium, I think that's probably pretty good. Line up your paper, and again, be careful you don't move that because now it's very slippery. It doesn't stick until it's been on there for a while. And get your edges. You can put something heavy on it and probably massage it sideways to make sure there's no air bubbles. So it's gonna, okay. Dear old Jansen, our art history book. Good stuff. You should read this. Absolutely, you should read it for every page. Well, we had to in art school. Practically, anyway. Yep. Good stuff. Okay, we're going to be putting a little interlude here. And physically, we're going to we wait maybe a half an hour. We'll have a peek. And then hopefully everything's dry and we can see the transfer. If not, we'll post it at the end. I guess we'll sign off now and then we'll do a postscript, I guess we could do as to how it turned out. So thanks so much for joining us today, and wait for the big reveal after this. And take care of yourselves, your families, be kind to one another. Bye for now. well, I've pulled the print, and what did we take? About an hour, I guess. And this is it. And it looks pretty awesome, if I do say so myself. All right, and look at how much it printed. Pastel on pastel paper is really good. Whether you're using the pan pastels or regular chalk pastels, it's fantastic. So we had a little white blob here, so we can make it into a pelican. Give it a little bit black wing tips here and a tiny bit of a beak. There we go. I'm pretty happy with this one. So try pan pastels or pastels on pastel paper as a transfer, and there you go. It looks fabulous. And what I'm going to do after this is I'm going to fix it with just a layer of more matte medium, and then you can frame as is without having to put glass on it. Maybe put 2 or 3 more layers of the matte medium on it, and you're good to go.